Sustainable agriculture, integrated pest management or IPM, also known as integrated pest control, that is IPC, and is a broad based approach that integrate practices for economic control of pest. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization defines IPM as the careful consideration of all available pest control techniques and subsequent integration of appropriate measures that discourage the development of pest populations and keep pesticides and other interventions to level that are economically justified and reduce or minimize risk to human health and the environment. It includes managing insects, plant pathogens and weeds. Perry Atkinson and Ray F. Smith received the 1997 World Food Prize for developing and spreading IPM worldwide. IPM is an effective and environmentally sensitive approach to pest management that relies on combination of available pest control methods used to manage pest damage by the most economical means and with the least possible hazard to people, property and the environment. Aims. The aims of integrated pest control are as follows. First, set action threshold. Before taking any pest control action, first sets an action threshold, that is a point at which pest populations or environmental conditions indicate that pest control action must be taken. Monitor and identify pest. Not all insects, weeds and other living organisms require control. Many organisms are not harmful and some are even beneficial. Prevention. Prevention is better than control, hence IPM aims at prevention of pest as a first line of pest control. IPM programs work to manage the crop, lawn or indoor space to prevent pest from becoming a threat. Control. Once monitoring and identification is done and it is confirmed that pest control is required and preventive methods are no longer effective or available, IPM programs then evaluate the proper control method in terms of effectiveness and risk. Biological control. It uses biological control in form of microorganisms and predator insects or pheromones. Advantages. Let us analyze the advantages of IPM. It manages pest damage by the most economical means, least possible hazard to people and property, least possible damage to environment, reduces the application of pesticides, can be applied to both agricultural and non-agricultural settings such as the home, garden and workplace. Monitoring and identification removes the possibility that pesticides will be used when they are not really needed or that the wrong kind of pesticides will be used. Control methods can be very effective and cost efficient, does not kill non-target organisms, reduces health problems of the workers. Disadvantages of IPM. Integrated pest management system are extremely complex and require a high level of understanding to utilize. An IPM system of pest control involves a lot more time. It's sometimes more costly than the traditional method of spraying pesticides to eliminate pest. Needs constant monitoring by trained person. Now coming to the new variety of crops, first is genetically modified organism, that is GMO. Is an organism whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. They include microorganisms such as bacteria and yeast, insects, plants, fish and mammals. Genetic modification involves the mutation, insertion or deletion of genes. When genes are inserted, they usually come from a different species whose desired characters are inserted. Uses of GMO. GMO are used in biological and medical research, production of pharmaceutical drugs, experimental medicines like gene therapy and agriculture. Transgenic plants have been engineered or scientific research to create new colors and flavor in plants. Nutrition value produce disease resistant plant and high yielding variety crops. The first transgenic, that is a genetically modified animal, was produced by injecting DNA into mouse embryo then implanting the embryo in female mice. Genetically modified animals currently being developed can be placed into 6 different broad categories based on the purpose of the genetic modification. And the categories are: to research human diseases, to produce industrial or consumer products like fibers and multiple uses, to produce products intended for human therapeutic use like treatment of hemophilia and sickle cell anemia, to enrich or enhance the animal's interactions with human, example hypoallergic pets, to enhance production or food quality traits like faster growing fish, featherless hen, pigs with less saturated fat, dairy cow genetically modified to produce more milk, etc. To improve animal health to make them disease resistant. Environmental risk of genetically modified crops. In a study in the early 1990s, rats were fed genetically modified, that is GM tomatoes. The rats refused to eat them. When force fed, several of the rats developed stomach lesion and 7 out of 40 died within 2 weeks. Agency scientists warned that GM foods in general might create unpredicted allergies, toxins, antibiotic resistant diseases and nutritional problems. High yielding variety crops, that is HYV, seeds played vital role in the progress of agriculture. They are considered as miracle seeds. The yield of traditional variety of seed is low. High yielding varieties seeds are developed to get higher yielding of crops. The main advantages of high yield variety seeds are yielding of form is high as compared to the use of traditional seeds. HYV seeds give better quality yield. The maturity time of crop is less. Multiple crops can be grown easily. Seeds are mostly flood and drought resistant. Net agricultural income increases many-fold. HYV seeds helps socio-economic transformation for farmers. Paddy, wheat, maize, jowar, bajra and other crops utilized HYV seeds. Disadvantages of HYV seeds. HYV seeds yield more under irrigated conditions. They need higher doses of fertilizer and they are highly susceptible to pest. Now, hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds are the one produced by cross-pollinating desired varieties of plants. Farmers and gardeners have been cultivating new plant varieties for thousands of years through selective breeding. They did so by cross-pollination to different but related plants over 6 to 10 plant generations, eventually creating a new plant variety. By selectively cross-pollinating related plants in this way, farmers could create varieties that were healthier and stood up to the farmer's microclimate, their soil, their weather pattern, their predatory insects, has desired color and flavor. Disadvantages of hybrid seeds. The biggest disadvantages are hybrid seeds is that they don't reproduce true in the second generation. That means that if you save the seeds produced by F1 hybrid plants and plant them, the plant variety that will grow from those seeds may or may not share the desired traits you selected for when creating the first generation hybrid seed. Mixed cropping. Growing 2 or more crops simultaneously on the same field is known as mixed cropping. It is also known as multiple cropping. Generally, the one line of main crop is alternated by leguminous crop which balances the nitrogen content of soil. Example, wheat and chickpea works well. The classic example of mixed cropping is that of the American three sister, that is maize, bean and cucurbits, squash and pumpkins. Advantages of mixed cropping. It reduces risk and gives some insurance against failure of one of the crops. Mixed cropping do not allow the growth of weeds and keeps down pests. Mixed cropping balances soil nutrients like nitrogen, and there is no need to pay extra attention to any of the crop as all the crops are of same duration and similar nutrient requirements, so each crop receive equal care. Disadvantages of mixed cropping. If the crops are not chosen properly, there are chances of competition between the crops for nutrients. and it reduces the fertility of soil as many crops are grown in the field at a time. Next is regenerative farming techniques. First is intercropping. Farming techniques in which two or more crops are grown together. Each must have adequate space to maximize cooperation and minimize competition between the crops. The goal of intercropping is to produce a greater yield in a given piece of land by making use of resources that would otherwise not be utilized by a single crop. Example of intercropping strategies are planting a deep-rooted crop with a shallow-rooted crop, or planting a tall crop with a shorter crop that requires partial shade. An example is the tropical multi-tier system where coconut occupies the upper tier, banana the middle tier, and the pineapple, ginger or leguminous fodder, medicinal or aromatic plants occupy the lowest tier. Second is crop rotation. It is the practice of growing a series of dissimilar crops in the same area in sequential seasons. Usually, main crop is replaced by leguminous crop, which has the ability to fix nitrogen, for example, corn and soya bean, rice and oats, etc. Advantages of crop rotation. By using crop rotation, farmers can keep their field under continuous production instead of letting them lie fallow. Reduce need the artificial fertilizers, prevents soil erosion as the soil is not kept fallow, adds nutrients to the soil, controls pest by breaking the pest cycle. Agroforestry. Planting trees along the agricultural fields increases the tree cover. Agroforestry is a community forestry where agriculture is practiced along with tree plantation and animal husbandry. Aims and advantages of agroforestry: reduces pressure on the forest for obtaining timber and non-timber forest product, proper utilization of farm resources, best utilization of resources at a place like land, manpower, livestock, ecological factors, etc. The trees help in checking soil erosion by wind. It is a self-sustaining system where the humans, agriculture, forest, trees and livestock fulfill each other's need. The agricultural waste and trees provide fodder to livestock and they in turn provide manure. Polyvarietal cultivation. Planting a plot of land with several varieties of the same crop. It can be compared to alternate cropping. Advantages of polyvariety cultivation: it provides crop insurance against crop failure due to unpredictable weather conditions or epidemics. Increase in total land productivity per unit of land area. Judicial use of resources like land labor and agricultural inputs. Disadvantages of polyvarietal cultivation: yield may decreases as crop differ in their competitive ability. Improved machines cannot be used due to difference in crops. Different amounts of fertilizers and irrigation is required. Harvesting is difficult. Next is polyculture. So polyculture is the practice of growing multiple crops on one farming site, imitation of a natural ecosystem. It is opposite of monoculture where only one crop is planted on the farm. Advantages of polyculture: the diversity of crops avoids the susceptibility to disease, encourages biological pest control. The greater variety of crops provides habitat for more species, increasing local biodiversity. Less chances of crop failure as there are multiple crop plantation. Less depletion of soil nutrients as every plant has different nutritional requirements. Disadvantages of polyculture: it requires a lot of labor and no single crop is cultivated in large amount. Conservation tillage. As its name implies, conservation tillage conserves soil by reducing erosion, both erosion by wind and water. It is an important part of sustainable agriculture system. In other words, conservation tillage is any method of soil cultivation that leaves the previous year's crop residue such as corn stalk or wheat stubble on field before and after planting the next crop to reduce soil erosion and runoff. The Conservation Technology Information Center, that is CTIC, defines conservation tillage as any tillage and planting system that leaves at least 30% of the soil surface covered by residue after planting. Conservational tillage like moldboard plowing leave the soil surface bare and loosen soil particles, making them susceptible to the erosive forces of wind and water. Conservation tillage practices reduce erosion by protecting the soil surface and allowing water to infiltrate instead of running off. Conservation tillage practices are grouped into three types. First is no-till, second is ridge-till, and third is mulch-till. As no one conservation tillage method is best for all fields, the farmers may choose one of these methods. Decisions should be based on the severity of the erosion problem, soil type, crop rotation, latitude, available equipment, and management skills. No-till leaves the soil undisturbed from harvest to planting. Planting is done in a narrow, that is 6 inches or less, seedbed or slot. Ridge-till involves planting into a seedbed prepared on ridges. Mulch-till is any other reduced tillage system that leaves at least 1/3 of the soil surface covered with crop residue. Advantages of conservation tillage: reduces soil erosion up to 60 to 90% and susceptible for erosion prone areas. Reduces the need of fertilizers as the plant residue decompose and add nutrient to the soil. Reduces the water requirement, crop residue reduces the evaporation loss from the soil, facilitates infiltrations and reduces runoff. Infiltration of more water increases the groundwater. Groundwater and surface water contamination due to use chemical fertilizer and pesticides is reduced. Economical to the farmers as it requires less labor, no use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, less irrigation, less use of energy, etc. Disadvantages: fungi and bacteria. Conventional till buries crop residue which destroy many fungal and bacterial pathogens, but under conservation tillage, severity of some diseases can increase, potentially requiring more use of chemicals. Tillage is widely used to control weeds directly and by burying their seeds. There is particular concern about perennial weeds becoming a problem after a few years of conservation tillage. In addition, there are concerns that more of the herbicides will be absorbed on the crop residue rather than reaching the soil where it is effective at killing weeds. Deep plowing destroys many insects by exposing them to birds and weather and can physically hinder their emergence. This doesn't happen under conservation tillage. Trickle drip irrigation, and this method of irrigation has been developed to conserve water. Water is supplied to the plants without any wastage, and it is also known as micro irrigation. Trickle drip irrigation is a controlled method of irrigation where water is slowly provided to a very specific area close to the roots of the plant by a network of drip emitters. Tiny nozzles about the size of a quarter doesn't hang above the plant and drip but are laid along the ground. Linked to a feeder hose, they provide a slow and steady flow of water. A control box regulates the water pressure. Advantages of trickle drip irrigation: it is a controlled method of irrigation that saves gallons of water per minute. Flow of water is so slow that it is easily absorbed into the ground. Reduces wastage of water through runoff as in case of normal irrigation. No chance of water logging. Weeds cannot absorb water, hence no weed growth. Operational cost less. Fertilizers can be used with maximum efficiency and energy cost is reduced. Now, disadvantages of trickle drip irrigation: high initial cost. The heat of sun can cause damage to pipes, can cause clogging of pipes if water is not filtered properly. Moisture may not be distributed evenly. Salinity problem may occur. Sometimes there might be germination problem. New organic fertilizers, integrated nutrient supply program. The basic concept of integrated nutrient supply management is adjustment of plant nutrient supply to an optimum level for sustaining the crop productivity. It involves proper combination of chemical fertilizers, organic manure, crop residue, nitrogen fixing plants and biofertilizers suitable to the system of land use and ecological, social and economic conditions. Integrated plant nutrient management first operates at plot level, optimizing the utilization of plant nutrients from different sources which are locally available in order to improve agronomic efficiency of nutrients and at the same time reduces the loss of nutrients. The main aims of the integrated plant nutrient management are to maintain soil productivity, to ensure productive and sustainable agriculture, to reduce cost of purchase of inputs by using farm manure and crop residue, to use biofertilizers, green manure, leguminous plants, to prevent degradation of environment, social and economic aspiration of the farmers. Now, common consideration faced by the farmers in the implementation of integrated plant nutrient programs are non-availability of farmyard manure in sufficient quantity, difficulty in growing green manure, non-availability of soil testing facilities, non-availability of water, lack of knowledge of integrated plant nutrient program, non-availability of new improved seeds and credit facilities not available to the farmers. Organic manure. Organic farming is the need of the hour to get rid of all the ill effects of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Plant removes a large quantities of plant nutrients in form of NPK, that is NPK resulting in the depletion of the nutrient reserve. The regular recycling of organic waste in the soil is the most efficient way of maintaining the required level of soil organic matter. Now, organic manure is derived from plant or animal matter. Naturally occurring organic matter include worm casting, peat, seaweed, gnau, humic acid, etc. And processed organic manure include compost, vermicompost, blood meal, bone meal, fish meal and sewage sludge are also widely used as organic manure. Advantages of organic manure. Organic manure provides all the nutrients required by the plants in a small quantity. It helps in maintaining C-N ratio, that is carbon and nitrogen ratio in the soil, helps in increasing soil fertility and productivity, improves physical, chemical and biological properties of the soil, improves structure and texture of soil, increases water holding capacity of the soil, and due to increase in biological activity, the nutrients at the depth of the soil are made available and it also minimizes the loss of moisture. Green manure. Green manure refers to the crop residue left after harvesting and buried under the soil. These are often the cover crops grown especially for this purpose, for example, sweet clover, alfalfa, vetch, berseem, clover, etc. These are leguminous plants grown for a specific period of time and then plowed under the soil. Advantages of green manure. They are leguminous and fix atmospheric nitrogen in the form that can be absorbed by the soil, and it acts as soil acidifying matter because that decreases the alkalinity of the soil. The nutrients in the green manure decompose, are released and made available to the next crop. It improves soil structure and biomass, and it also improves water infiltration. Cover crop suppresses the weeds, controls soil erosion, reduces instance of pest and disease infection. Biofertilizers are the living microorganisms that are used to enhance nutrient availability to the plants. When applied to the seed, plant surface or soil, promotes the growth of plants by increasing the supply of availability of nutrients to the host plant. They help plant by nitrogen fixing, solubilizing phosphorus and by synthesizing growth promoting hormones. Some examples of biofertilizers are rhizobium, azobacter, azospirillum and blue-green algae, that is BGA. Advantages of biofertilizers: reduces the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Microorganisms restore the soil's natural nutrient cycle. builds organic matter in soil, enhances soil fertility, eco-friendly and cost-effective. Sewage sludge. It is a semi-solid residual matter left after the treatment of wastewater from various sources. And these are decomposed by microorganisms to produce biosolids that can be used as fertilizers. Domestic sludge add organic matter to the soil. Industrial sludge is often used as a source of micronutrients like zinc and molybdenum, but the main disadvantage lies in the fact that it may contain heavy materials or heavy metals which are potential health hazards, and these may be on account of leaching of these chemicals into groundwater, runoff into fresh water, and biomagnification in the food chain. However, it can be used in non-crop lands like public gardens, golf course, house lawn, etc. Gene bank. Gene banks are the type of biorepository which preserve genetic material. It is a place where scientists store DNA information from plants and animals so that they can use it to reintroduce desired genes back into a gene pool when required. It is a type of ex situ conservation of organism seeds, tissue or reproductive cells. Plant genetic material in a gene bank is preserved at minus 196 degrees Celsius in liquid nitrogen and can be unfreezed and used. Different types of gene banks are seed bank, tissue bank, cryo bank, pollen bank, field gene bank, etc. Objectives of gene banks: conservation of genetic material of organism, preservation of biodiversity, store accession over long period of time, duplicate and regenerate the material required from the preserved genes, offer resource for breeding of hardier, improved pest and disease resistant crops, improve quality and yield rates of the crops, documents and store information about the plant material in collection. ICRISAT Hyderabad gene banks serve as a world repository for the germ collection of 5 crops: sorghum, pea, millet, chickpea, pigeon pea and groundnut, and 6 small millets with germ plasm accession from 144 countries. It is one of the largest international gene bank. Now next topic is global food security. Food security refers to the availability of food and one's access to it. A household is considered food secure when its occupation do not live in hunger or fear of starvation. The Food Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, is a specialized agency of United Nations that leads international efforts to defeat hunger. Serving both developed and developing countries, FAO acts as a neutral forum where all nations meet as equal to negotiate agreements and debate policy. FAO is also a source of knowledge and information and helps developing countries and countries in transition to modernize and improve agriculture, forestry and fisheries practices, ensuring food nutrition and food security for all. The World Food Summit of 1996 defined food security as existing when all people at all time have access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active life. Commonly, the concept of food security is defined as including both physical and economical access to food that meets people's dietary need as well as their food preferences. In many countries, health problems related to dietary excess are an ever-increasing threat. In fact, malnutrition on food-borne diarrhea are become double burden. Food security is built on 3 pillars. First is food availability, that is sufficient quantities of food available on the consistent basis. Second is food access, having sufficient resources to obtain appropriate food for a nutritious diet. And third is food use, appropriate use based on knowledge of basic nutrition and care as well as adequate water and sanitation. There is a great deal of debate around food security, with some arguing that there is enough food in the world to feed everyone adequately. The problem is distribution. Future food need can or cannot be met by current level of production. Nutritional food security is permanent. Nutritional food security is paramount or no longer necessary because of global trade. Globalization may or may not lead to the persistence of food insecurity and poverty in rural communities. Issues such as whether household get enough food, how it is distributed when the household, and whether that food fulfills the nutrition need of all members of the household, and whether show that food security is clearly linked to health. Now, how to achieve food security? Rapid economic growth, more rapid growth in agricultural sector, slower population growth by boosting agricultural sciences and technology, securing poverty rights and access to finance, enhancing human capital through education and improved health. Food aid and right answer. Food aid in general is about providing food and related assistance to tackle hunger, either in emergency situation or help with deeper, longer term hunger alleviation and achieve food security, where people do not have to live in hunger or fear of starvation. Now, food aid in times of natural calamities like famine, flood, earthquakes, etc., is always a welcome gesture, but dependence on food aid by an overpopulated, hunger-stricken, poor nation is not appreciated. They should find a solution to become self-sufficient and not rely on other countries. The countries would only support them in case of surplus food to their own citizens' need. Also, chances of adulterated, low grade, low nutrient food reaching them is often high.